And so I want to say that moving the pulpit to the middle is honestly something that I resisted. And yet I could not ask for the choir and the band to make changes if I wasn't willing to make changes myself. I think to do that would be called being a hypocrite. True? All right. As long as we understand each other. All right. And we can talk about centers of worship, and we can talk about our focus and all those kinds of things. And honestly, the reason I resist this is because our time together, it's not about me. And it's not even about the word of life. It's about us being the word of life together for each other and out in the world. So just because this is here and because I am here at this moment, we should never lose sight of what this building is pointing to. Remember? It's pointing that way. It's about us being the best we can be in here so that we can be the best out there. And I am not standing in your way. So the word about life, I'm going to share both of these. They're both just too good not to. The first one comes from John, and Jesus is gathered with his friends. And he's hours away from being taken away from his friends and actually being taken away from this life. And this is some of what he shared with them. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends, if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from God. And then from Revelation chapter 1. And please note, it's Revelation. It's not Revelations. It's Revelation. Then I turned to see whose voice it was that spoke to me. It's almost for dramatic effect. It's like, right? Did you get the drama? Okay. And on turning, I saw 7 golden lampstands, and in the midst of the lampstands I saw one like the human one, the Son of Man. Now, the Son of Man is image of humanity, the image of the best of humanity, when humanity is its most vulnerable and its strongest and most faithful at the same time. That is the Son of Man. That is what it means to be the most human one, the most authentic human being we are capable of being. That's what this is, the human one. And the human one, clothed with a long robe and with a golden sash across his chest. His head and his hair were white as white wool, white as snow, almost white as Jim Gears. As a sign of purity and holiness. And his eyes were like a flame of fire. His feet were like burnished bronze, refined as in a furnace. And his voice was like the sound of many waters. Please understand that all these images come from Ezekiel and from Daniel. They come from the Old Testament. They come from the Old Covenant that had an understanding that history was not standing still, that there was going to be a fulfillment of history. And this human one that was most vulnerable, one that was most strong, most human, is a symbol, the one that ushers in the end of history, the fulfillment of history. In his right hand he held 7 stars, and from his mouth came a sharp two-edged sword. And his face was like the sun shining with full force. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as though dead. I was so overcome. I was overwhelmed. All I could do was fall on my face. But he placed his right hand on me, saying, "Do not be afraid." Please note, he's holding the stars with his left hand, but his right hand, his strong hand, is used for gentleness and for comfort. Holds the stars with one hand and reaches down to comfort with the other and says, "Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last, the living one. I was dead. But look and see, I am alive forever and ever. And I have the keys of death and of Hades." Now, wise preachers think twice about getting into discussions about Revelation because it's not simple or easy to explain. And often difficult theological issues spawn bumper stickers and jokes, and the issues about the end of the world are no exception. I'm sure you've seen the bumper sticker, "Jesus is coming, look busy." I heard a joke about the Pope's secretary. The Pope's secretary rushes into the Pope's office and says, "Your Holiness, I have good news and I have bad news." Well, what's the good news? Jesus is back and he's on the phone. Wonderful. What's the bad news? He's calling from Salt Lake City. Humor like this suggests that the theological issue is difficult and should be a warning to all of us not to venture forward. And yet we will not ignore this warning, and we will plunge ahead. And I invite you to come with me. I appreciate Karen picking this passage from Revelation as one of the 2 for today's study and proclamation of the Word about life. In this passage is an image that I have often used to begin my own prayers. It gives an image of the divine as almighty and gentle at the same time. The one who holds the stars in one hand is the same one who reaches down to place a gentle hand on you and encourage you not to be afraid. The one who holds the stars and gently strokes your forehead is no less than the Alpha and the Omega of history, the first and the last. The one who has taken the power of death and the power of hell from those who had it. He took it away from them and now holds them. Those who had those keys, who had that power and would use it against us, no longer have that power. It has been taken away from them, and the one who holds the stars and reaches down to comfort us has the power of death and hell and holds it in reserve, not to be used as a weapon against us, but held in reserve and meted out on the last day for the sake of justice. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. You see, I think we need apocalyptic end times, the purpose of history, and theological ideas in our lives. We need these ideas. I get our resistance to it. But the book of Revelation speaks of vision. And vision is the connection between our ideals and our behavior. Vision is the connection between our words and our actions. And without vision, the people perish. Dietrich Bonhoeffer is one of our identity theologians at Shadow Rock. Making the faith concrete was one of Dietrich Bonhoeffer's main concerns. You see, he loved theology, but he loved the people of God being the people of God engaged with the world even more. And so it is this idea, it is this spirit that finds expression in our own covenant. One of the activities that is worthy of our best efforts is engaging secular people with life's ultimate possibilities. That is vision. Bonhoeffer had to really struggle with this. In the time of Nazi Germany, he would ask, he would pray, he would cry. Where is the human one? Where is the church? Where are the concrete acts of courage and love, service, and freedom? In a collection of Bonhoeffer's lectures titled No Rusty Swords, he is fundamentally concerned with the integrity and the intactness of the church over against a seducing and menacing world. For people of faith and conscience to engage the world with hope and to resist the world's seduction and threat with courage, we must have vision. Bonhoeffer said that the people of God, quote, must be a community which hears the apocalypse, unquote. The apocalypse, friends. All right, Ken, you've gone off the rails now. The book of Revelation, I propose, has an important role to play in shaping our community of faith. And the more menacing the world is, the more important it becomes. Unfortunately, the book of Revelation has been avoided by pastors and teachers and bastardized by Hollywood. We think of the Antichrist and fires and wars and devils and the number 666. We think of movies like The Omen and Rosemary's Baby. We have forgotten, if we have ever learned, about the image of the Lamb on the throne that sounds like a lion, guaranteeing a just and peaceful outcome to history. The Lamb proclaims all through the book, behold, I'm with you, and I make all things new. We have forgotten, if we ever learned, the hand that holds the stars also wipes away every tear and promises of a time when there will be no more crying and no more sickness and no more death. For God will be with God's people. Behold, I make all things new. We have forgotten, if we ever learned, the hand that holds the stars and wipes away every tear is also the hand that turns a dried up river into an ever-flowing stream of life, and that the withered trees along its banks come to life and they bloom, and the leaves from those trees are used for the healing of the nations. Behold, I make all things new. These are the apocalyptic images by which we stand against a culture that would take away our hope. These are the apocalyptic images that feed our imagination and equip us to look at the events of the world, to look at the political events of the world, the social events of the world, the thousands of people on the border, the people whose votes are being suppressed, the people who are being denied food, and on and on and on. The events that would break our hearts. These images, these apocalyptic images, equip us to look at the events of the world and see them, see through them. Not deny them, not above or around or below, but see through them clearly to the hope that is ours as the people of God. This is the reading of the Word about life. Can we take the crazy out, please? Leave the power of the images because it transports our imaginations. Let the vision take us places, equip us to question everything, all the human constructs that say life has to be this way. No, it does not. Let the vision give us hope and reason to share the hope that is in us. I think we can. And I'm with Bonhoeffer on this. I think we must. But if you don't know them, you can't use them. One of the phrases we hear is walk the walk, don't just talk the talk. If you say that someone talks the talk but does not walk the walk, you mean that they do not act in a way that agrees with the things they say. I was convicted in seminary by the words of my favorite professor, Dr. Liston Mills. He said that ministry, much of ministry, is about integrity. As Jesus said, let your yes be your yes and your no be your no. And then you match your actions with your words. Dr. Mills went on to say, if you tell someone you will pray for them, then for God's sake, really pray for them. Don't just say it. I do hear from time to time that Shadow Rock is known as a congregation that really does walk the walk. And we take pride in that. We scoff at others who proclaim faith but do not have works that make the faith concrete and real for people. Indeed, faith without works is dead. The arc of moral history bends toward justice, but we must always work to bend it. because we covenant with one another to perceive and respond, to partner with God as God moves and works in the midst of history. Now, we're products of our culture. And what this means is that our values are just as likely to be shaped by glossy General Electric commercials and Instagram as they are by our family and our friends. The church, as a shaper of our values, is less likely as we are moved to the cultural sideline. But because we still gather, because we still pray, because we still sing, we are open to connecting to each other in the mystery we call God, and thus our values of inclusion, justice, and spirituality are reinforced, not just by each other, but by the vision of the Lamb that is on the throne, proclaiming, "Behold, I make all things new." I think you will find it is a fun and powerful way to be concrete and to walk the walk. Amen.